Okay, so for this episode of our show, we are going to be diving into how is Dentist Partner Pros different. And in the dental industry, there's a lot of different, you could say, like recruiting firms or uh, coaches or resources out there. But we're going to have to try really hard to keep this to 10, 12 minutes because there's so much I think that we could dive into. So I'm going to frame this a little bit more for us, Bob. Let's break it down into three main kind of questions. What is our process? What is our results? And then what's our guarantee? So we'll go through all those. We'll see if we can squeeze it into 12 minutes. But most importantly, I think what makes Dentist Partner Pros different? The foundation of everything that we do at Dentist Partner Pros is always going to be focused on helping the lives of those that we work with be better. That's our mission. That's our why. And how we've decided to do that is through creating dental associateships, partnerships, and teams.
Mm-hmm.
And so our process diving into how do we create thriving dental associateships and partnerships, we're going to mostly focus on the associateships, I think, for this conversation, because that's our main offering. That's how we see being able to impact as many people. So, Bob, walk me through this, because this approach that we have, our process, is so different.
It's so unique.
It's so unique. It's so different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's not like anything that the industry's ever seen. And so why don't you, I mean, you really were the foundation of this. We've obviously explored it and
we have
it beyond
we've refined it, but the model is still pretty much the same.
Yeah.
You know, right in a nutshell, what makes us different is that we approach solving this problem in a whole unique way. You know, Stephen Covey once said that we can't solve today's problems with the same attitude with which we entered into them. And as we have discussed already, there's this chronic issue of this turnstile of just associates coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. Now the DSOs look at that and they think, great, that works to our favor, okay? Because our model is kind of focused around churning, you know, churning patients and churning doctors. For private practice, though, that model or that reality of 75% failure rate, the costs behind it are astronomical. The emotional toll behind it is just crazy.
There's a better way forward for it.
You know, I don't know how to put it. And you know, you just have a lot of wrecked lives, really. And here's the thing that is most hard, I think, about this, because it's hard on the owners, but what's really hard is when we start interviewing, you know, kids, young doctors that have been out for 1 year, 2 years, they're on their 4th gig, and they're looking at dentistry like, man, what just happened? You know, who lied to me about what this industry is all about? Okay, which makes you just go, oh, gee, how do we make this bigger so that we can really begin to impact the conversation, you know? But our approach is so unique, and it really boils down to, instead of searching for someone who has a license and feels like they might be a good part of this team and wants to live where the practice is, okay? There's a lot of question marks in that type of recruiting effort. We are literally playing the role of matchmakers, okay? And we jokingly say we're matchmakers, then we're priests, and finally we're marriage counselors, okay? But that's honestly what we're doing, you know, because the first time I heard from a friend of mine, Linda Miles, who's a very respected consultant, she was in the industry for almost 40 years before she retired. You know, like, man, 13 years ago, she just told me that, you know, Bob, we have a 75% failure rate with hiring and bringing on new doctors and having them stick. And Bright, my jaw hit the floor, because even in medicine, you don't have that type of failure rate. Nowhere, honestly, do you have that type of failure rate with hiring executives. Okay, and I'm going to call a doctor an executive level hire. All right. But as we talked a little bit more about it on this phone call, I don't even know why the subject came up. I just asked her, Linda, does anybody know why? And this is a very, very smart woman who I love.
Yeah, I
And
couldn't
she
agree
just
more.
said, she said no. And so I mentioned, and who are we that running some really large operations? In my career, I've probably hired 2,000 people. Maybe not just myself, but through my HR directors and other people. And I thought, man, what is so different about dentistry that you have this dynamic where it just ends in failure? And then the thing that dawned on me was what makes it so different is the environment is so unique. Dentists live in each other's sandbox all day long. Okay, even medical doctors don't do that. We've talked about this, but they live in parallel tracks, and they intersect once in a while in board meetings and in medical staff meetings, but they really are not intersecting the way dentists do. But dentists share patients, they share staff, they share space, they share talent, they divvy up new patients. So this is a really unique environment. And the thing that dawned on me was, man, this isn't a business relationship. This is like a marriage.
And it really is.
And if
I
it's like
mean,
a marriage, and it is, and if it's like a marriage, then let's treat it like a marriage.
yeah.
So instead of just finding somebody that we think is going to be a good fit, let's vet the practice, know that they're ready for an associate, then vet the candidates and know, are they a good fit? And by the way, in determining fit, let's make sure we know who's going to be a fit in that practice through characteristics. So then we can interview based upon those characteristics and survey and talk to references and, do all that so that we're really, when we're done, we can put our good housekeeping seal of approval and say, this doctor makes a 90% match against everything that we've said this person has to look like. Okay. And, part of the magic there also that Linda taught me was you got to involve the team. That was one thing she knew. You have to involve the team. And so here again, our process is when we start with somebody, we go on site and see the practice, and we have interviewed the doctors and we interview the whole team. So we know the culture. We've captured what the magic sauce is of this place. And so as we work through these criteria of what the ideal candidate would look like, we actually go back to the team and show them what we've come up with so that we have their buy-in, because sometimes, as you know, we may just end up with one candidate, but that candidate may be a complete home run. Okay. And a team often will say, well, gee, I really think I want 2 or 3 to look at because we're so used to comparing candidate A to candidate B. And we just teach them, no, you guys, we're comparing candidate A to what you said is going to be successful. And it changes the whole dynamic. So then when we've got the right person, from there, we've got the documentation and work on a win-win agreement using industry standard terminology and everything to come up with something that both the practice owner feels great about, the associate feels great about. There's incentive for both. We, make sure that everything's signed off. There's a clear path in terms of how they're going to get busy. Everybody's aware of it. And then we stay engaged for a year after that to make sure that molehills don't turn into mountains. And all that translates into, I think, probably the biggest differentiator of all is that we have a guarantee that after all of this work, because remember, we have a 90% success rate. So, 1 out of 10 is going to be a dud. And you know what?
And what we found is most of the time that's has nothing to do with the individual. It was life.
It's off.
Life.
It's life. It's life. It may be a spouse. It may be some other extenuating circumstance.
Things
Sometimes
happen.
it's the individual, but things happen. Our guarantee is, you know what? We're going to go back and do the whole thing again. And this time for free.
Yeah.
The
No
only
extra.
difference
Yeah.
is We just asked them to pay for the advertising that we've got with this enterprise level, search engine that we use for posting jobs. But
Yep.
other than that, it's on us.
Yeah.
Because
So
we,
going back to what you said is our process really is flipping the paradigm to saying we're forming
mhm,
dental marriages. And
yeah,
we would say our partnership work is we're preventing dental divorces.
mhm,
Um, and so we do that through our matchmaker priest, which you described as forming those win-win agreements, and then the marriage counseling, which is staying engaged for the 12 months
right,
afterwards to really
right,
ensure the relationship sees success. That process has led to a 90% success rate with an
mhm,
average ROI of people seeing a return on their investment of hiring us within 6 months, and then within a year they're seeing like a 6x return on.
right, right.
and,
Of,
and those are
of contribution margin for that
and those are
associate. Yeah.
averages, right? We've had clients that
Mhm,
see much more than that.
mhm,
Um, and all of that, we feel so confident in the process that we've said we'll back it with a guarantee, our
right.
associate assurance guarantee, saying if it
Mhm,
doesn't work out for some crazy reason, it's 1 out of the 10, we will go back and we'll find that person for no additional fee. We take pride in our work and we'll make sure that all happens right for you in the practice.
yeah, exactly. We are so confident in what we do and how we do it and why we do it that we're willing to stand behind it and say, you know what? If for some reason we got it wrong, or for some reason they suddenly say, you know what, I'm going to change, then that practice owner doesn't have to think, oh, gee, I got to go back to the well and pay him again.
Yeah,
We're going to do it right and make sure it happens.
yeah,
And I feel
and
great about that because
I
that
do
again
too.
is a key differentiator.
Absolutely. I think of the independent study we had done recently about the entire market
Hmm.
in the industry and
Right.
what are
And the
the
whole
different competitors
hiring.
and
Yeah.
offering and all
Hmm.
in dentistry. And we had already created this model and process, proven to success. And we
Hmm.
hired someone to go look at the entire field and tell us what's out there. What are the
Right.
offerings? What are the
Right.
pricing? One thing that stands out is we are in a league of our own. No one even comes close to touching the results and the guarantee and
Hmm.
the ROI and all that stuff that you see when you bring on DPP. However, that means we're a premium service, and so it's not
Right.
something that's cheap. It's definitely an
Right.
investment.
Right.
Um, but as one of our clients best put it in an interview we did with him was, you get what you pay for. And if you
Hmm.
want to have this type of dental marriage and dental success moving forward, then that's what you want. If you'd prefer to have the turnstile method,
Hmm.
then
The
use the options that have already been there.
use the other guys and
Yep,
gals.
because
Yeah. Feel
they
free.
help get those
Okay.
results. Those
Hmm.
results have been proven, and uh, and if you're okay with it, then that's okay.
Hmm.
But if you're wanting to really dial in on creating this thriving practice based upon the foundation of having an associate that helps you get your life back, then there really is no other option.
Hmm.
DPP needs to be a part of that journey with you, and we would be thrilled to be able to do it. So,
Correct. Correct.
what
Yep.
makes Dentist Partner Pros different? Well, we just spent like the last 10 minutes answering it, but our process, our results, our guarantee, and frankly, our mission and vision on how we
Hmm.
want to be able to impact is wildly unique compared to anything else that's in the industry.
Hmm.